Hey guys, my name is Olivia Dobbs, and my presentation is on nature and traditional Japanese architecture. I chose this as my research topic because I am a Japanese history double major, so I figured I would combine both of my interests into one topic. I've also just loved Japanese architecture ever since I was little, so I figured I would do more research into the subject. As I did my research, I realized that Japanese traditional architecture demonstrates a reliance on natural materials due to historical availability of resources and strong religious influences. So the first half of my research focused on historical aspects and practicality of material use. I realized that buildings were often constructed using locally abundant resources. Beginning around the 7th century, architecture was becoming more sophisticated, but unfortunately, stone was not as available as it is today. There was a lot of volcanic activity at the time, so they had to switch to another alternative. They found that wood was a better alternative due to its abundance and proven resistance to earthquakes. However, as time went on, stone did become more available, but wood was still seen as the preferred material. Stone was not just left out of architecture, it has been used as decorative motifs and is vital in making walkways, stairs, and walls. Other materials included rice paper and bamboo. Rice paper is most notably known for being used for sliding doors, while bamboo can be used as lattices or set down as flooring. The other half of my research focused on more religious influences of traditional Japanese architecture and their use of natural materials. And I found that there were two major religions that influenced the use of natural materials. One major one was Buddhism. The background behind Buddhism was that its popularity grew during the Heian period, which was around the 800s to the early 1000s, and as the popularity grew, more and more temples were being built. However, these temples were being built away from populated areas and more in remote locations, and so the builders found it harder to import local manufactured resources, namely ceramics. These ceramics were used mainly for flooring and roofs, but since it was difficult to obtain these manufactured resources, they decided to use local ones, namely wood. The wood would be used for flooring and the bark would be used for the roofs. On the other hand, Shintoism has a belief that gods known as kami live in nature, and thus nature is divine. Shinto shrines use these natural materials to demonstrate respect towards the divine. And oftentimes, these buildings attempt to mirror the beauty and divinity of nature. And I'm going to show a couple of examples of how they do that on the next slide. So first off, I just wanted to go back to Buddhism real quick to talk about Todaiji. This is the Great Buddha Hall at Todaiji, which is a Buddhist temple. And this Great Buddha Hall was, until recently, the largest wooden structure in the world. I just wanted to make note that Buddhism and Buddhist temples still use natural materials, even though it's not out of practicality anymore. So now I'm going to move on to the Shinto buildings and how their imitation of nature demonstrates its respect towards the divine. So these verandas, which are just the extended roofs over the inner walkways, it's supposed to imitate a forest canopy, making the interior darker. But it's not going to be entirely dark because the rice paper doors that I talked about previously naturally let in light. And so these verandas and the rice paper doors combined are supposed to imitate the natural canopy of a forest. Furthermore, Shintoism believes that nature itself is beautiful, and that includes erosion and weathering of natural resources. So as you can see, this stone gate has naturally gotten eroded over time, but it's still considered beautiful because that is natural in nature. And so this can be seen in Shinto shrines as well, with the wood both on the exterior and interior being unpainted and uncovered. So it is supposed to emphasize the genuine beauty of nature. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope you guys have learned some more things about how Japanese traditional architecture interacts with nature, especially natural materials. Thank you for listening, and in the future, I hope to one day be able to go to Japan, especially Kyoto and Nara, to see these temples and shrines firsthand and really view how they use their natural resources to demonstrate the beauty of nature. Thanks for listening.